In this video, we'll go over all the WoW news from the past week and try to compress it into a bite-sized video. The weekly event for this week is Azeroth Dungeon Event, where if you complete 4 mythic dungeons, you get a piece of Old Deer loot. Also, an extra piece of loot will drop from the end of BFA dungeons. The PvP brawl for this week is a new one called Cooking Impossible. This brawl might just be a new Battleground, from what I've seen when I was testing it. Basically, both sides are trying to complete whatever they're cooking first, and in order to contribute to it, you have to go out and collect vegetables and stuff, and then just bring them back to it. It's kind of like capture the flag. Instead of flags, you're using vegetables you go out and get. And then whichever team captures 20 of them first wins. Now, it seems like a pretty standard Battleground type thing, but there was also a couple of other little bonus objectives you could do, and one of them was to ride around on this vehicle, which was like some of the most fun I've had in a Battleground in a while, because this thing doesn't actually do any damage, it's just full of disruption. It has a really fast speed boost, it has triple heroic leaps, it can AoE throw people into the air, and AoE fear people. So it's basically just a disruptor. You just run in and disrupt your opponents. And it can also dig up upgrades for your teammates to pick up and use. I thought this one little addition to the Battleground was a really fun concept, as I was having a blast just jumping around and throwing people into the air, while my teammates killed them. And finally, the Archaeology bi-weekly for this week from Legion is just for a crappy neck item that's not worth doing unless you need the achievement. Wintervale will be going on for the next 2 weeks or so. New to Wintervale this year is a toy armor set for Alliance and Horde, and a new Hearthstone toy. None of these are out yet, but it's assumed all of them will be in the presents when you're able to open them around Christmas. Plus, there's all the other stuff you can do for Winter's Veil. Blizzard seems to really like Wintervale and Hollow's End, as those are the 2 holidays packed with the most amount of things to do. And I'm not going to go over all of them here, but I will remind you guys about the Globe Yeti pet that was added in Legion, where you just need to go into that little bubble in Ironforge or Orgrimmar and capture the pet in a wild pet battle, but he only spawns like once every half hour, so you're going to have competition in order to tag it. The new secret mount, the Hivemind, was finally discovered this past week. Basically, just like all the other secrets, it requires an incredibly complicated and convoluted series of events in order to get it, and what's unique about this one is that the final part of its collection process requires 4 other people. So you need 5 people to complete the Hivemind mount quest. And after you complete it, you get a mount which gets a 10% speed bonus for everyone who goes inside of it, for a 140% extra speed possible if you have 5 people riding it. But here's the drawback to it. Only the people who helped you complete the series of events in order to get it can actually hop into your Hivemind mount. It's not a normal multiple seater mount where anyone can hop into it as long as they're in your party. It's literally just the 4 other people that helped you get it, which has made some people a little angry. This past week there was a developer Q&A. They said a lot of things that without really saying much. So here's a couple of the highlights that I found important. They're saying something about making Mythic Plus trash easier, so look forward to more changes to Mythic Plus within the next couple of weeks, as there's already a whole bunch of changes that they've done. Titan Residuum, they made a confirmation that that's going to be the only currency for, trading it in for Azerite gear until this expansion's over. But with new seasons, they're just going to increase the cost of what the new season's gear cost. So it's okay to hoard it if you want to save it for the next season, but since they're going to keep increasing the cost of them exponentially, you won't get that much of an advantage if you do hoard it, so feel free to spend it on gear for the current season. And finally, the big thing they announced was major changes to Azerite gear in general with patch 8.2. I think. Whatever the patch which is going to bring the Ajara raid into the game. What they basically said was the Azerite gear you get in that season will have all of its rings unlocked. Either because they're going to remove the ring unlock requirement, or they're just not going to increase the amount of Azerite level you need in order to unlock the rings. So as soon as you get gear in patch 8.2, you're going to have all the rings unlocked. And instead, they're going to be moving the progression to the Azerite necklace itself, which is going to function just like the Legion artifact weapons basically, where it's going to have its own points you can spend in it. Some of them are going to be activatable spells, and it will give you a series of actual progression for when you get level ups. Instead of being able to just unlock another row from a piece of gear you might have already unlocked in the past. Basically, they're adding in a lot of the suggestions people had made about what could possibly fix the system of Azerite gear. So this one little change made lots of people happy, as it addresses a lot of the big issues people had with Azerite gear. But then they also talked about class changes and how they're basically not going to do anything, which then soured people's opinions toward Blizzard again. And now it's time for some miscellaneous things. Feral Druids just got a straight up 7% buff to all of their abilities. Frost Mages got a 3% buff to all their abilities. Players are now able to purchase Elixir of Tongues from Lizzie Lizard Zapper. Using and applying the potion will allow players to be able to understand the opposite faction. This elixir was added because with this new patch, Blizzard broke some RP add-ons that allowed RP players to communicate cross-faction for RP events. And adding this elixir was basically Blizzard's way of allowing RP players to continue that portion of the game with actual in-game support. And funny enough, from what I've read online, this elixir has been in the game since Alpha WoW. It's just it was always a placeholder, and they just kind of finally decided to give an effect. So this elixir wasn't added with the patch, it was added as kind of a hotfix to something that the patch broke. A new store mount is available called the Vulpine Familiar, which is like a blue fox type mount. It has a unique model and a unique standing animation or space animation, and costs $25 in the mount store, or 2 WoW tokens if you want to buy it with in-game currency, which is about 250,000 gold, give or take. So cheaper than the new frog mounts that were added with the patch. The Fate of Sourfang Horde-only questline is now available this week. And finally, the Dark Shore has been conquered by the Alliance. The world boss and contributions for Horde are now available. Now onto weather with DevBot the Weatherbot. How's the weather out there?
Perhaps the reason many people hate holiday music is because it ignores the fact that the season is often busy, stressful, and depressing. And not because it's the same 10 songs every time being played every year.
I don't know, DevBot. I kind of like the holidays. Now onto the micro fact of the day. Did you know the easiest quests to implement in vanilla WoW were the kill quests, which is why half of all quests in classic WoW were to go out and mass genocide wolves for 3 paws, as it was the easiest way to fill out zones, and force people to grind mobs, which was the main way MMOs used to give players experience back in the day. And the smaller YouTuber shoutout for this week will be for the Flying Buttress again. Flying Buttress makes World of Warcraft lore videos, and he's going through a series where he's summarizing the Warcraft Chronicle books, in a way very similar to how I summarize lore in my Villains Corner videos, which I think is one of the best ways to do it. So if you're a fan of my Villains Corner videos, you'll love his videos as well. And even though I already gave him a shout out like a month or 2 ago, I'm still looking for more smaller channels to shout out, and I thought I would just give him another one, just because I really like his stuff. Channel update. There will be no news video next week, as next Tuesday is Christmas, and I refuse to make these videos on any other day than Tuesday. So basically, if something happens on a Tuesday and I can't make this video, it's not gonna happen that week. Also, since I'm not doing one next week is Pet Battle Week, which is the best weekly event. So make sure you go out and level all your pets and stuff. And with that, I'll see you all in 2 weeks. Or tomorrow with the discussion video thing going up.